data. It's a pretty overwhelming process to collect that for differentiated instruction. So as a good starting off point, we're going to work with Mastery Manager to learn how to collect data from assessments, organize that data, and use it in differentiated instruction. Now when I give an assessment, the first thing I do is I usually go to item analysis and I look at my mean and my median. Now my average was 52% and my median is 56%. So the median of 56% means that half of my kids are scoring at or above 56% and the other half of my kids are at or below 56%. Now the average is 52%, which is below that median, which tells me there's a few kids in the bottom half of my class scoring-wise that are scoring really low. They're bringing that average below the median. So I'm going to want to give them some extra support, some interventions, some added structure to help them learn this material. The reverse would be true if my average was above my median. That means there's a few kids in the upper half of my class that are scoring really high, and they're going to need some sort of extension project or higher order thinking or extra challenge work to keep that momentum going, to keep that progress going and maintain their learning. Now I also look at my comparison view, which can be a definite shot to the gut sometimes. It can be a good thing and a bad thing, and I got a little bit of both going on here. So first of all, my average being 52%, the overall average is 47. So that's pretty cool. I'm above the overall average, so that's a little mini celebration, but clearly I have work to do. I'm going to make a few notes of what went well and what didn't go well, and you'll see in a minute what didn't go well, so that I can discuss with my team, hey team, here's what went better this year, here's what didn't go so well, etc., and we can compare notes and learn from each other. Now if I look at the overall, for number one, 48% of the overall student population got number one right, and in my class 67% got it right, so that's great. But if I look at number two, and there it is. I'm significantly lower than that average, and keep in mind your distance from the average is actually double that from another teacher because another class had to balance out your class to create that average in the middle. So somewhere out there, some other class is 26% higher than me. I need to fix that. So I need to be knocking on some doors, figuring out what is that teacher doing right and how can I adjust what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is not working. Question number 3 then, if I look at that overall average and my average, those are pretty close to the same. So the team did, relatively the same on that question, so we can all high five each other or cry together, depending on if that same is good or bad, I guess. Now this item analysis menu also gives you a couple options for sorting. Say you gave an assessment where you want to see the highest percentages on choice E. I don't know, maybe E was strongly agree, and you want to find out where the highest percent for strongly agree was. You can actually click up here and organize. So you can sort by highest percent or even lowest percent for E if you click on it again. Now this sorting option kind of leads us to this organization of data and seeing some more specific patterns from student to student. Now looking at the alphabetical results definitely gets you some information. You can organize by overall score and group them that way, kind of like we do with SLOs. If you want to focus more on a specific learning target though, or maybe a specific question that itemizes a learning target, I go back to the item analysis and look at a specific item. So let me click on item number 2 here because, again, for item number 2, the one I didn't do so hot on, I'm also looking at my wrong answers, and answer B was a very popular choice for wrong answer, and C was a little less popular but still significant. So I want to see what's happening here in question 2 because it looks like a bunch of students are making the same mistake, and that might be a good way to organize them for differentiation purposes. So I'm going to click on item 2. And here I've got a list of my students and who answered what. So I can click on answer, and then that organizes. Here's all my students who answered B and made that same mistake. Here's my students who answered C and made another similar mistake. And here's my students who answered D and got the correct answer. So I can group my students like this. Now Mastery Manager lends itself to a nice copy and paste option. I'm going to click and drag over this whole chart. And then I hit Control C, or you can just right click and hit copy. Now I'm going to go into a Google Sheet, and in that A1 cell, paste, And now I've got a nice list of students and what their answer was. Now, maybe you want the kids to see how they answered on that question. Maybe you don't. I don't know. It depends on what that data is and whether or not it's appropriate for the kids to see that. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to insert one column to the left, and I'm going to categorize all these kids who answered B into group 1, all the kids who answered C into group 2, and all the kids who answered D into group 3. Now again, if I want the kids to see this column, I'm going to leave it. If not, I can just hide it by clicking the column up here, this little drop-down arrow menu, and say Hide Column. And now I have a nice spreadsheet that I can put up on my screen at the beginning of class as the kids walk in, and then directions for group 1 are already there in that station, directions for group 2, directions for group 3, and it's all sorted and ready to go. Pretty quick way to sort according to how your students scored on a multiple choice assessment. Now, I like saving these arrangements for later because, I mean, you never know when they're going to come in handy again. You might want to organize them by date or by one of the 6 differentiated instruction tenets. Maybe I gave a little assessment on learning profile, and that's how I group the kids sometimes. Or maybe, a section of the book or a specific learning target or Common Core standard, something like that. So you can always go back in case that topic comes up again and that grouping worked well. You can revisit those groupings and not have to redo this process again. So I kind of have a working spreadsheet throughout the year that I save these groupings on. Now, of course, if that grouping didn't go well, I'm also going to want to know that for future reference too, what worked and what didn't work, to help out my future differentiated instruction. I hope you got a couple of useful nuggets on basic data analysis, looking for patterns, organizing those, and recording them for differentiated instruction purposes through Mastery Manager. Of course, if you have any questions, ask your local TL, email, however it is you want to get in touch to get the answers to those questions, let us know. If you're interested in how to do this type of thing with a rubric question, rubric graded event, go ahead and check out that screencast. And if you're interested in looking at what kind of information you can get from Mastery Manager when the multiple choice or rubrics are mapped to specific learning targets or standards, check out that screencast as well.